what is the gap between Alison finishing and Robert starting?
Okay, or kind of, he'll come straight on after. Why?
No, because we wanted, because that's the microphone that would get the sound for the last streaming.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to put that, because if we're recording her, or we live streaming her, we need to put this on her too, so we get
Okay,
the correct
so you
sound.
need to take it off Alison and put it on Robert.
Yeah.
We need to, so someone needs to be up there to do that.
Yeah.
Can you be up there? Shall I be up there?
Yeah, you can do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean for the program, for the way we're doing the program, that's when we need that time kind of
Yeah,
switch it.
and Alison needs to wear this.
Yeah, so that we can get the sound.
Okay. And she can put that in her pocket. She doesn't have to do anything with it, and it's just about that not getting...
Yeah, negative.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to wear this and go, hey, come on in. Okay. Alison, we've realised that we're going to need to give you this radio mic so that we can hear you. We need to, so I'll just give you this just before you start, and I'll take it off and put it on Robert before he starts.
So you're going to give Robert the second lapel mic?
I'm going to give him this.
Yeah.
Yeah?
So on Robert, we're going to put our lapel mic for the recording for the master sound as well. So you know, the sync sound later, there's a lapel mic, so Robert's going to be wearing two lapel mics. Yeah. Okay. I've already made it.
Hi Robert, how was lunch?
We're almost ready?
We're very nearly ready.
We're good? Alright, I need to get wired.
Okay.
That sounds ominous.
Robert.
I've been wired for all my life, and now I get to get de-wired.
There's one more piece of the wiring, which is that we will need to swap this mic from Alison to you before you go on. So I'll just be here to do that.
We need to do. So we need to do.
Yeah.
This
I'll
thing.
just clip.
But I have to put another one in my back pocket, I think.
Yeah.
That's right.
And Alex is going to do that.
So we'll do that now.
Yeah. It just needs 2 minutes.
Okay, sure.
Thank you for being there. It's like, Amy. Good, that's all good. And I was like, who can I ask? I can ask him. Good to have you there.
Are you free?
Can be.
Hi. Hi, Becca. Hello. I'm well. How are you? Oh, I'm really good. It's so nice to see you. I'm just running around making sure the live stream is going to happen, but I'll see you afterwards. Okay. You can sit anywhere in this whole part. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want me to just speak?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
from the stage. Okay.
Yeah, from there. What speak? I think maybe clap. That will be good.
Do you want me to? Do I need to do it on stage or can I do it here?
And then from the stage, we can see, the difference between the clap and the sound.
Okay. So shall I talk and clap?
I mean, clap will be fine.
Okay.
And I'll come behind you.
Sorry, I'm just going to step over your piles of paper.
Okay. So, you set? You okay?
Yeah, I'm pretty nervous, but I'm alright.
Are you?
Oh no, Alison, sorry.
No, that's okay. Fine.
Can you read it? fun. Maybe hold. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah.
I've got these stand-up bands.
Okay.
Is there a good place or a bad place to put them on the stage?
Bad place would be anywhere in this frame because it's a fixed camera. You can see it here.
So
are you putting them on the stage?
Possibly.
So back corner? Back corners.
And then you can sort of see them.
Yeah,
sort of not.
yeah. Okay, was the sound check okay?
Can you put that on her?
Yeah. But so sound check's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And this is on and everything. This is on and everything.
Yeah, it's on. Yeah.
Will people be able to hear her?
Yeah. Well, this one people will be able to hear.
Okay.
Yeah. We're just gonna. If you put it on her, so we see how loud it is.
Okay. Will anyone who's got the link? No one's got the link yet. It's okay.
Well, they're waiting at the moment, but some people have got 10 minutes.
Great, thank you very much.
Alison, I just need to
So
mic you up when you're ready.
Okay, so we're going to let people in now.
Do you want to tuck that over your jeans or into a pocket? Into your back pocket. Oh, it's not a real back pocket. Okay. Great. I'm just going to put this. There. Is it turned off now? It's on now, but no one is on the live stream. So could you just talk a few times just so they can test?
Yes, testing. Can you hear me now? Testing. This is Alison Coleman speaking now. Just
I'm
testing.
going to go back there and I'll give you a hand
Okay.
signal to test. We'll make sure that your voice isn't coming through before the...
Excellent. So you need to be ready with papers done. So you two of you need to be ready to go up. Yeah, and otherwise maybe one either side.
So we're all sitting over there. So shall I make sure that there's a seat over there for you?
Robert.
Robert, sorry. Miss Robert?
Can't see him at the moment.
Okay, that's fine. It's good. It's fine anyway because I'm just about. I need to put lapel mic on.
At the beginning of the first general meeting.
Do you remember what time?
Not off the top of my head, I'm sorry. Have a look in the schedule. I'm just speaking into my microphone now. Are you understanding me and hearing me?
Robert said to minimise the setup on here, his lapel mic is going to be used instead of the mic on the stage, and then the handheld on there. Would you have to turn it on?
It's
just a button at the bottom.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah. Could you there's the girl on the end with the yellow. Yeah. Could you show her? Thank you. We just need to get people taking. Would you mind just telling the exact people have got to be sitting down now because we've got to be starting. Like over here, these people need to be sitting down.
You can do it loud, please.
Yeah, thank you. No, you don't need to do it loudly, but just go and get the exec to make sure people are beginning to sit down. Yeah. That's just so you know. Got to get people sat down first of all. Ladies and gentlemen, please do take your seats. We'll be beginning very shortly, so please do take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, please do take your seats. We will be beginning very shortly. It's on. It's on. It's on. Okay. What about this So David, what? So.
Turn on.
It's muffled, but it's not coming out. It doesn't appear to be coming out all the speakers.
It's not, because two of these are turned off.
Okay, that'd be
Because
why
they can't be turned on, basically. Basically,
yeah.
If people aren't speaking, they can hear it really clearly in here, because we always use this for a full room.
Okay.
So as soon as they simmer down, it will be heard, yeah, I promise.
Okay, that's right, thank you. Okay, so if the last people could just take their seats. Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, a very, very warm welcome to the British Association of Dramatherapists 2018 annual conference here in Chester. I'm Alison Coleman, and I'm the chair of the association.
I'm Laura Knight, and I'm currently the vice chair of the association.
I'm David Prout, executive.
Sam Adams, executive. Emma Godfrey, executive. Helpers with us. So you can go to them for help, you can go to them for anything. So at the back we've got Mel. Mel is from Roehampton. We've got Kathleen over there. Kathleen's from Caroline down here. Caroline's from Derby.
Thank you very much to the exec. So they'll be disappearing, but rest assured you will be seeing them again, we hope. So I've just got a few very practical, small things to point out just before we start our opening of the conference. All the information you need should be in the small leaflet that you were given when you arrived. If there's anything that you need to know that's not in that leaflet and isn't in that information, make your way to the small hall where you registered, and there will be somebody that will be able to help you. I think the exec said that the exec and the students are all wearing red lanyards, so we are the people that should be able to help about the conference, certainly. Upstairs here in this building, we have a creative space which will be open for the duration of the conference, and we're hoping that that's a place that people will feel able to go and meet with friends and colleagues, to use the art materials, or even have meetings. So if you're looking to meet with a group of people about a certain thing, then please do go upstairs and use the creative space, which is available the whole of the conference. I'd like to also draw your attention to Flor Foreco, who has an installation during the conference, Ship of Fools. But most importantly, and I guess as a bit of a taster of Flor's talent, Flor has designed the logo for this conference. So please do find your way to the installation. And a couple of social media things. We will be running a competition, a photographic competition. So those of you who have already been active on Twitter will have seen announced a photographic competition for the duration of the conference. So people who aren't here at the conference can join in and will know about it. And the competition is around themes of the keynote, which is snakes, circles, and selves. So any photos around those themes, please tweet them. And by Sunday, breakfast time on Sunday, we will have a winner, and a surprise prize will be announced. And as you know from my chairship, I'm quite into prizes. So there will be a big surprise on Sunday for the winning photo. And we'll have a chance to look at those photos, not only from the conference around that theme, but from all of the membership of BADth across the country and probably across the world. Obviously, taking photos comes with a certain confidentiality issue. Please be respectful when you're taking photos. People will notice that, now I must be very careful here because I could get this mixed up with vegetarianism and gluten-free. So stickers on the lanyards, Heidi, who can help me with that? There is a sticker on your lanyard if you do not want your photo taken. Yeah, or to be filmed. Is it a special colour?
Red and yellow.
So watch out for a sticker, if you can, before taking any photos. That would be great. So don't forget to use the hashtag @BADth 2018 for those photos. And if you're going to photograph anybody particular, do check that out with them alongside seeing their sticker. This keynote and opening, once again, as last year, will be live streamed. So most people are aware and have consented to the filming, but please notice that the filming will take place here in this area, but if you speak in response to the keynote, your voice will also be heard. So just please be aware of that. Okay, so, I do enjoy a social media announcement, don't you? Don't you? We have a very special opening, which has been designed and put together by Daniel Stolfi, who's here. The music is by a special contact of Daniel's called David Inthwaite, and we thank him for his work, his time, and his thought on this particular soundtrack. So please pass on our thanks. And after the opening, we'll be going straight into our keynote for this 2018 conference. And I'm delighted to say, and welcome warmly, with all of the warmth that Chester has to offer, Robert Landy. I had a conversation with Robert about this particular conference, and Robert's career has developed and evolved, and this is a really special year for Robert, when he has time to travel the world and speak to people like us. If you're a student sitting here, I know we've got a lot of students, which is absolutely fantastic. You will have Robert's books on your shelves or in the library for certain. And if you've been practicing for a long, long time, like many people here, you'll also have his books and his writings and be referring to Robert's concepts and themes and ideas from a huge volume of work throughout his career. So he is now a Professor Emeritus, Robert Landy, and you will see him appearing through the opening. So I'll say no more as an introduction, but just to say we look forward to your keynote. Thank you very much. Thank you.
it's 2:45, right? It ends at 2:45. So there it is, the theme of the conference. In some ways, I don't really need to say more, but I have more to say. So I want to tell you two very brief stories that are UK-based. The first one was, it takes place in 1986. And I was on sabbatical from my job at New York University. And I was in a very transitional moment in my life. My father had just died. I'd been working very, very hard. I just had finished my first Dramatherapy textbook, and I was very, very tired. And I decided to base my 6-month sabbatical in London. And I planned it to be very spontaneous. I would just sort of show up, see what happens. I bought an open ticket on the British Railway, and I planned to just not plan, just to see where the moment would take me. And I arrived in London one day feeling very, very lonely, very sad. And I didn't know where I was going to go, and I arrived at, I think it was Victoria Station. And I asked somebody, do you suggest a place to stay? And somebody said, yeah, there's this B&B someplace in a neighborhood I never heard of. And so I said, fine. And I got on the subway, and I went out. I took, I don't know, 3 trains. And I got out, and I found this little place, and it was at the top of the stairway, 3 floors up. And I dropped my bags, and I think I fell asleep. And I woke up, and I knew that that night I wanted to go to the National Theatre to see a very special performance of Les Liaisons Dangereuses. And I knew it was a big hit in London, and I didn't know if I can get tickets, but I went. And someone told me, you take this subway and this subway and this subway, and I got there, and I was told that the performance is all sold out and I couldn't get in. And I was very insistent, and somebody appeared, some very nice person appeared, and said, listen, I have an extra ticket. I said, great. And at the end of the performance, which was wonderful, it was very late, and I was very, very tired, not only jet lagged, but I was bone weary. And I thought, okay, time to go to bed. And I thought, gee, I don't remember which train I got on. I don't remember where the B&B was. I had a key, but there was no name on it because there was no hotel. It was just a key. And all my things, everything I had with me, all my clothing and money and passport was all in this hotel room, and I had no idea where it was. So I thought, okay, let's see what happens. So I jumped on the nearest tube, and it went, and I went on another one and got off someplace, and I looked around, and I didn't recognize anything. And by this time, it was about 12 o'clock. It was about midnight. And I began to wander. And I thought, well, I'll come across it. I must be in the right neighborhood. And I walked for about 3 hours. And nothing looked familiar. And I realized at the end of the 3 hours, I was deeply lost, deeply sad, deeply alone, and there was nothing I could do. So in front of me was a green, a little park, and I just sat there and began to sob. I didn't know what else to do, and I sobbed, and I sobbed, and I sobbed, and I sobbed. I wiped my eyes, I looked up, and there was the B&B right in front of me. I had been going around in circles for 3 hours. That's my first circle story. Second one is 3 days ago. I arrived on the Isle of Lewis in the Outer Hebrides, and I went to photograph the Callanish standing stones, the circle of stones, that my dear friend Alida had told me about, and I checked it out on the internet, and I was very excited to go there. And I rented a car, and I got off the plane, and again, I was feeling tired and, I won't say lost, but not quite embodied. And I got in the car, and as I was driving out, again, I hadn't driven a car on the left-hand side of the road since 1986. And I was feeling a little off balance, and I got out, and I had a GPS, and the woman on the computer said to me, go to the circle? Roundabout, go to the roundabout and take the second exit. Now, in my mind, a roundabout goes counterclockwise. And I had to say, okay, now this is clockwise, the way of the clock, which seems to make a lot of sense, but I'm a lefty, so I always go against the clock, and it seemed to make perfect sense to me. So I went into the roundabout and got completely confused, and I had no idea what the second exit meant. It meant nothing to me. And I just got totally lost, and I veered off someplace, and my tire hit the side of the road on the curb and exploded. So I called up the rental place, and I said, listen, I saw you about 5 minutes ago, but... And they said, okay, you have to go to this place to change the tire, and it's here, and you have to make a left and a right and a left. I said, listen, I'm exhausted. I don't know what you're talking about. You probably are sending me to another roundabout. I'm going to get lost. Can you come and please take care? No, you have to go there. I said, okay. I said, and furthermore, the tire is destroyed. I'm going to mess up the whole wheel, the whole, what do you call it? The rim. And he said, no, this is what you, so I did it. I found my way. And the people were very nice, and they said, oh, this happens all the time to Yanks, you know. And I said, great. And he said, you know, you're lucky you didn't blow out 2 tires, because most people blow out 2 tires as soon as they get off the plane. I said, yeah, I guess I'm lucky. So we did this, and the woman in the place said, now look, you've got to go to the office, which is near the ferry station, in a different place where you were before, because you have to sign some documents. And I said, you know, I really would like to go on my way. No, no, you have to do this. It's simple. You just go through the roundabout. It's right up, you don't even have to, just go through the roundabout. It's right there. So I went to the roundabout, and I didn't know what through meant. Does it mean counter? Does it mean clockwise? Does it mean straight? Does it mean through? I had no idea. So I got totally messed up on that roundabout. The cars are coming in either direction, and I'm really getting very, very nervous. So I veered off someplace, and I went to a side road. I missed the car place, and again my tire hit the side of the road, and another tire blew. So as before, when I was in London in 1986, I just pulled to the side of the road and I began to sob. I just felt, I can't do this. This is impossible. I shouldn't be doing this. I didn't want to rent the bloody car in the first place. So, I don't know, somehow I was driving around and people were yelling at me and they said, hey, buddy, your car is all blown out. You can't drive. I said, I know. I'm like, so some guy appeared and pulled me over and he said, yeah, it's pretty bad. He said, you know, you're going to have to pay, you know, £1 million and you know, we're going to take you to jail. And he said, and the worst thing he said, and furthermore, you can no longer have a car from us. And we're the only rental place in town. I said, what do you mean? My place is a little village, you know, an hour away. No, you had two accidents. That's it. I said, well, what am I going to do? And he said, well, you're on your own. He said, you could take a bus, but, you know, they run every 3 hours. And so he threw a bus schedule at me, and he disappeared. Geez, you know. So I got on the bus at some point later, and, you know, eventually wound up at this old fisherman, in a little village, in a fisherman's house where I was staying. And the woman of the house was a guide. She was an angel. And she took care of me, and everything was fine. And she took me right away to the stones, and it was just a beautiful moment, not only to be with the stones, but to be with these people. And the man went fishing early in the day, and he caught the fish, and I had it at dinner time. It was great. So I was thinking about circles, as I do most days these days. And I was thinking that the circle has brought me back to the UK after many years. And I'm still trying to negotiate a circle and understand how to be in a circle, how to be around a circle, how to negotiate a circle, how to drive through or around or inside of a circle, and how to hold myself in a circle. And the biggest question, will I be held once I am there? And so I bring that story, those two stories to you in starting this presentation. And to tell you that, like this amazing puppetry presentation, this is a story about, it's about circles, it's about snakes, and it's about selves, and it's also about this notion of alchemy. And how can alchemy somehow illuminate the process of dramatherapy? And you know, as one of the main volumes of Carl Jung's collected works is called Alchemy and Psychoanalysis, which is absolutely profound. And I remember years ago, you know, I've studied Jung off and on for 40 years or so, or more. And at one point I was in analysis with an older man in the US who was analyzed by Jung. So I'm sort of one generation right behind Carl Jung. And I've been away from him for a while. But in preparation for this talk, I wound up engaging very deeply in the Red Book. So the Red Book sat on my table. It took up the whole table. It's a giant book. I don't know if you know it. Do you know the Red Book? No, it's big. and it's very, very heavy, and it's extremely dense. It's almost unreadable and unseeable. It's just full. Jung considered this his magnum opus, his main work, and everything else he did from his point of view came from the Red Book. And the Red Book is basically a dream journal. It's conversations with God and various prophets. It's very, very esoteric, and it's written in a style of an ancient medieval illuminated manuscript. And you'll see some of the things, because a lot of the preparation for this talk is around Jung's work in the Red Book. He wrote it over 16 years, and he only shared it with very, very, very close friends and colleagues. And after he died, his heirs locked it in a safe for, I don't know, 30 years after he died, and it just came out about, I don't know, about 15 years ago or something like that. So I ask your indulgence. I'm going to ask you to participate very much with me in this presentation. I'm going to ask you to read, to perform, to do all kinds of things. And I hope you're open to that. I've asked a couple of people who I met along the way to engage, and some of you I'll ask in the moment, if that's okay. And if you don't want to do it, that's fine. You just say no and pass it on to somebody else. So shall we dig in? So the theme of the conference is, it's complex, but it has something to do with coming back to self. You know, that circular Ouroboros image, of which I've engaged, I'd say, with 1,001 Ouroboros, Ouroboroses over the last couple of months. And it's been a delight and a little bit crazy-making in a way, because when I first shared with my very dear friend Alida Gersi that I was, you know, digging into medieval alchemy and so forth, she said, be very careful. You're going into some dark places. And I had no idea what she was talking about. Now I know. So here we go. And some of this will be very self-explanatory. Here's the title: Snake Circles and Selves Toward an Alchemy of Dramatherapy. Definition of terms in images. And here's for you to start with me. There is keep it simple. Don't draw a very complex snake. Don't draw this one. Number 2. If you think it should be perfect, you're mistaken. You're drawing one. My talk is on many. Many. Number 3. So for the last few years, I've been identifying myself in the role of photographer. So a lot of the images that you will see today will be images that I've created over many years. Some of them are just invented images. They're not images that exist in reality, other than the reality of the imagination, which is the greatest of the realities. It's getting harder. In Arabic, Alchemia, derived from the ancient name of Egypt, Chemia, meaning black earth. And you can finish up your drawing, and here's an old painting. The original idea of alchemy, the chemical part of the meaning of alchemy, was to transform base metals into silver or gold. So here you see an old alchemist over his learned books, his 5 books of Moses or whatever, transforming metal into gold, and the gold is shining. And so you're going to learn a little bit about, you're going to learn just a wee bit about alchemy coming up. So here it is. Just a little bit, because alchemy is kind of complex. So you have basically 3 primes, 3 prime substances: sulfur, mercury, and salt. Mercury is the big one, because mercury does that, and if you think of mercury, it's a solid and a liquid at the same time, and it brings about transformation. So look at the image of mercury. You're going to see it on a lot of the images that come next, right? It looks like, male-female imagery. So the 4 elements, you have earth, water, air, and fire, all of which are triangles, some inverted, and you'll see in many of the images that the triangle has 6 points. So obviously it's, air and fire put together, or earth and water put together. The 7 primary metals. The most important I'm going to draw your attention to are the metals of gold and silver. And most alchemical imagery has an image of silver and gold. Gold is the sun, and gold is the male principle. Silver is the moon, and silver is the female principle. The female principle is dark, the male principle is light. Just for you to know. And then you have 7 operations of transformation, which I'm not even going to go into now, other than you should know that there was a whole system of transforming one metal into the other. And we begin with the notion of transforming metals. And metaphorically, the system is about a philosophical, psychological, psychic transformation of souls. So here you see the sun and the moon, the male principle, the female principle, the light and the dark. And in the center, of course, is a circle. And in the circle is a triangle, a square, and a circle. The triangle, square, and the circle is an image of the philosopher's stone. And for an alchemist, the philosopher's stone was the primary substance from which all life derives, the source of all life. And with that substance, an alchemist can carry on the transformation. And from a philosophical point of view, with the philosopher's stone, we can heal the sick. I shouldn't say we, I'm not an alchemist. Maybe I am. Maybe we all are. Can carry on any kind of critical transformation of the soul, the spirit, the psyche. Remember that image of the triangle, square, and circle. So it's a circle and a square within the triangle, within the circle. 4 parts. Now, how many of you have ever seen the Disney Fantasia? And in Fantasia is one piece, which was always my favorite when I was a little kid, and I've seen it since, called The Sorcerer's Apprentice, right? About this wild sorcerer who wore a big hat with the sun and the moon on it, by the way. And he, had all these magical powers. And when he's gone, Mickey Mouse takes over and tries to do the powers and causes havoc until the alchemist comes back and makes everything right again. So the interesting thing, you look at Mickey's hat, the moon and the stars. The Sorcerer's Apprentice is a story about an alchemist. And the fact that an alchemist can keep the entire universe in check. And when the alchemist is gone, the sorcerer, the apprentice, is in no way prepared to control the chaos of the universe. The goal, major goal of alchemy is creation. And this is an image, this is a medieval image, the homunculus, the idea of the fully formed human or animal within a jar, a test tube. Sound familiar? I mean, we're now, we can create life outside of the human body. And this idea was around a long, long time. And again, you see, and alchemy is also very much about integration. It's about two principles finding a connection. And you see the integrating part is a snake-like, serpent-like creature that holds together the male and the female. Another goal, a very similar goal, again holding to the two principles of male and female, sun and moon, is wholeness. The integration of opposites, the holding together of opposites, which is the ultimate transformation. Actually, I make a distinction, and if you think about it dramatherapeutically, I make a distinction between transformation, and there's a whole theory practice of dramatherapy, this, called developmental transformations, where the idea is that life and human existence is constantly in flux, and that the way to deal with the fluidity of existence is to help people find a way to transform from one state of being to another, from one role to another, so forth. The idea here is that the ultimate goal isn't transformation, it's wholeness, it's integration, being able to hold the contradictions of existence within one system, within one body. I showed that already. Creation, wholeness. The obstacle, the thing that stands in the way for the alchemist reaching his or her goals, is destruction, which brings us back to the theme of our conference, destruction and creation. And a lot of the ancient alchemical images are brutal, and they're about brutality and destruction, one creature destroying another. You'll see more of that later. And here we have the sun being devoured, the bloody sun. The guides. I'm going to talk to you about a system of guides and destruction and so forth later. But the two main guides are Hermes and Mercury. And these are two ancient texts. And again, you see the Hermetic text. You see Hermes holding together the sun and the moon. And you see Mercury holding the two images, the caduceus, the staff with the two snakes entwined, and holding off the two principles of male and female, or integrating the two principles. All right. I need five voices. I'm just going to call you out. If you don't feel like reading, that's fine. Just pass it on to somebody else. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Would you like to begin, please?
I'll read number 1.
And just project nice and loud. Oh, this is the praxis. Chemical and spiritual. This is the way the alchemist works. Please.
Number 1, take of common rainwater, a good quantity, sealed in glass vessels for at least 10 days, then it will deposit matter and feces on the bottom.
2, pour off the clear liquid and place in a wooden vessel that is fashioned round like a ball.
3, cut it through the middle and fill the vessel a third full and set it in the sun about midday in a secret or secluded spot.
4, when this has been done, take a drop of the consecrated red wine and let it fall into the water, and you will instantly perceive a thick darkness on top of the water, such as also was at the first creation.
5, then put in 2 drops, and you will see the light coming forth from the darkness. And you will see with your own eyes how God created all things in 6 days.
Here it is. The creation, the alchemical creation. These are very, very old graphics from ancient texts, medieval texts. And you can see there's a lot of imagery in these, and I can't even begin to explain them. I'm just asking you to see what you can see. Just indulge with whatever you can in the imagery. It's powerful. Now, generally in dramatherapy, we don't necessarily draw an image of dramatherapy. We might embody an image of dramatherapy. So if I can invite, David, where are you? Yeah. David, come on up. And Anna, come up. Just, how about in front of the cauldrons? And if I ask you, just in the moment, you're two brilliant improvisers, create an image of dramatherapy. Together.
Oh, together. Okay.
Hold that. Take a nice deep breath. Let it go. Let it go. Thank you very much. Please have a seat. Thank you. So, I've been doing dramatherapy for a long time, and I became aware of two critical parts of the elixir, the alchemical elixir of dramatherapy. 2 parts. Now these are my photographs, these 2 images. So there was a time years ago when I was first learning photography that I was working in theater with masks. And so whenever anybody stepped foot in my home or my circle of space, I would force them to wear a mask. I would invite them, I wouldn't force them. But very few people said no. And one mask that I used very often was the clown mask. And this guy happens to be one of the most famous living poets in the English-speaking world. His name is Billy Collins. And at the time, he was just a poker player in my living room. So that's the clown mask. On the left-hand side, this is a mask that I made on my face. So this is a mask of myself at a much earlier age. And I would put this mask on, as you see, on children, on old people, on women, on anybody who was not me. And the idea was, at the time, was to explore notions of, answer the question, who am I? What kind of roles, if I took my face and put it on another body, who was I then? And how could I see myself on or in another body? Role. And then story. And side by side, you see an illuminated manuscript from, I believe, the 15th century of the Odyssey in ancient Greek. Can anybody read that? I know there's some Greek speakers here. I don't know if you can read it. It's ancient Greek. It might be difficult. And side by side is an image from the Red Book, which was also, as I said to you before, created as a medieval illuminated manuscript. So you see how similar they are. Now Jung, I don't know how many of you know this, but Jung was a very, very accomplished painter. As much as he was a philosopher, psychologist, a very, very accomplished painting. Painting was probably his first I would say first art, but perhaps first vocation. Okay, Rula, are you here? Rula, would you read, hang on a second, number 1 from the Odyssey. Alida, would you read number 2 from the Blackfoot tribe? King James Bible, I don't know. Richard, where are you, Richard? Richard Horam. Richard? Okay, so would you read number 3? And then Anna, again, Anna, would you read number 4, please? Go whenever you're ready. Rula?
Speak memory of the cunning hero, the wanderer, blown off course, time and again.
Hang on a second. I just want to make sure everybody's heard. So if you articulate well, and I'm going to stand closer by you so my microphone could pick up your voice. Number 2.
One day, old man decided that he would make a woman and a child. So he formed them both of clay.
Okay. Number 3.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
And number 4.
Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal, thank you very much. They were the last people you'd expect to be involved in anything strange or mysterious.
Now, yes, it's very interesting. I forgot that the first Harry Potter book was called Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I didn't even know what a Philosopher's Stone was when I was reading that book to my children a long time ago. So, something very interesting. As I was developing role theory, I began to see the relationship of role and its counterpart, which I called counter-role, male and female, sun and moon, precious and despised, as taking place in a space where there was distance between one role and the other, where there was a kind of transitional space between the two. That is, as you see in the famous Michelangelo painting. I'm sure you all know this. This is very famous. And as you can see, and I'm sure you probably knew this, but maybe you didn't think about it. Between the finger of God and Adam is a space. And that seems to me to make all the difference in the world and to be profoundly important for dramatherapy. Here's the Brooklyn Bridge, nearby where I live. It's very close. Maria lives in Brooklyn. How many other people here have ever lived in Brooklyn? Anybody? So here's the Brooklyn Bridge in its infancy. So the space was a bridge between two shores, touching each but apart from both. I called it the guide. So from two parts, from one role and its counter role, from role and counter role, came three: role, counter role, and guide. I'm talking about role theory that I developed over, I don't know, 30 some odd years. Whoops. We don't want to go past the guide. There we go. So in role theory, a healthy personality is defined as one who is able to live among the contradictory parts, the contradictory roles between role and counter role, mediated by guides. That's in role theory, that's pretty much the definition of a healthy personality. Achieving this state of balance requires heroic journeys played out in stories. And again, if the two parts are role and story, this is how the two parts connect. The healthy personality is one able to live among the contradictory roles as mediated by guide and as expressed, the roles are expressed through story. And here we come. I chose a story to work with you today from the Red Book. And most of the stories are very, very difficult. They're very dense and very obscure. Conversations with Philemon, conversations with God, wild explorations of dreams. And Jung wrote about his own dreams, and he wrote about dreams of his clients, told to him by somebody else. So it's a lot of really very complex material. So here's a painting from Jung in an illuminated manuscript style, and one story called Mysterium Encounter. So I would like to invite Sam to come up on stage. And this is going to be new text to you. And if you can stand over here. Now, Sam, there'll be a slide on a couple slides on the screen. Mm-hmm. And I'd like you, but if you can cheat a little bit this way, but also in a way that you can read the slides. Sure. And I'm going to invite, so you're going to be, Sam's going to play Carl Gustav Jung. Excellent. Right? I mean, so it's typecasting, of course. I want to invite Avi Hadari to come up on this side of the stage. Over here, Avi, can you come on this side? And Avi, you're going to play the role of the prophet Elijah. And I asked Avi, when Avi and I were sitting at lunch, and I said, can you choose somebody to be your daughter who will play the role of Salome? And he chose, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Claire. Okay. Can you come up, please, Claire, and stand next to Avi, and you will be Salome, and you'll read the part of Salome. There's one other voice in this drama, in this story, that just has a single line. It comes in at the end, a voice from the distance. I'm going to ask, Maria, can I ask you to read that voice? You don't have to come up, because it should come up out of the distance. All right, so here we go. So this is a story from the Red Book, and we'll just play it out in language. Here we go. And so the young part is, you know, I intended originally to have different people play young, but you are the I don't know, prototypical young in my mind. So can you read 1 through 7? Read the whole thing, if you don't mind.
The whole thing?
The whole thing.
From 1 to 7?
From 1 to 7, and there'll be more.
Okay. On the night when I encountered the essence of God, I became aware of an image. I lay in a dark depth. An old man stood before me. A black serpent lay at his feet. Some distance away, I saw a house with columns. A beautiful maiden steps out of the door. I see that she is blind. The old man waves to me, and I follow him to the house. The serpent creeps behind us. Darkness reigns inside the house. A bright stone lies in the background. As I look into its reflection, the images of Eve, the tree, and the serpent appear to me. After this, I catch the sight of Odysseus and his journey on the high seas.
And we'll, you know, this is young Elijah, young Elijah, young Elijah, Salome, and young.
Suddenly, a door opens onto a garden full of bright sunshine. We step outside, and the old man says to me,
"Do you know where you are?"
I am a stranger here, and everything seems strange to me. Who are you?
I'm Elijah, and this is my daughter, Salome.
The daughter of Herod, the bloodthirsty woman.
Why do you judge so? You see that she is blind. My wisdom and my daughter are one. Her blindness and my sight have made us companions through eternity.
Do you love me?
How can I love you? Your hands are stained with the blood of the Holy One. I dread you, you beast.
You do me wrong. Elijah is my father, and he knows the deepest mysteries. What wouldn't you give for a single look into the infinite unfolding of what is to come?
Your temptation is devilish. You, Elijah, who are a prophet, and she the bloodthirsty horror. You are the symbol of the most extreme contradiction. Doubt tears me apart. Fear seizes me. I rush out. I am surrounded by the black night. I do not love Salome. I fear her. Then the spirit of the depths spoke to me and said,
"Therein you acknowledge her divine power."
Apart from Elijah and Salome, I found the serpent as a third principle. The serpent taught me the unconditional difference between the two principles in me. The way of life writhes like the serpent, from thinking to pleasure, and from pleasure to thinking. Thus, the serpent is a wise bridge. May the thinking person accept his pleasure and the feeling person accept his own thought. They are each other's poison and healing.
3 of you take a nice deep breath. Let the rolls go, and please return to your seats. Thank you very much. So you all know this image. It's supposedly from China. Nobody knows for sure where the image comes from, but it's associated with China around the 3rd century before Christ. And you notice that the yin-yang, the yin is the female principle that has a bit of, in this case, it's light, opposite of the sun and the moon. And it has a circle of darkness within it. The yang is the dark, and it has a circle of light in it. And now we come to the Ouroboros. One of the earliest images in the Western world of the Ouroboros appears in just about every culture, almost every traditional culture that I can think of. I found the Ouroboros image throughout all cultures. Native American cultures in the US and Canada, Eastern cultures, Japan, China, India, and so forth, all around the world. Now, this particular image of the Ouroboros appeared on a single page of papyrus in the 3rd century AD, so 600 years later. And it was created by a woman thought to be the first alchemist in the Western world. She was called Cleopatra the Alchemist. And she lived initially in Egypt, and then she immigrated to Greece. And interestingly, you see, as in the yin-yang, you see a black section with a circle of white, the eye, and a white section with circles of black. And in the center, in ancient Greek, are 3 words. One is all. And you also notice that in the Ouroboros image, this very early image, the snake does not have the tail in its mouth. There is a space between the mouth and the tail. I wish I could give you a lot of time to just sit with these images. I've sat with them for many, many, many hours, and it's actually quite powerful. So this is a quotation from Carl Jung. Laura, where are you? Well, oh, we got 3 lawyers. We got 3 lawyers. Laura Wood, would you read this, please?
He is metallic, yet liquid, matter, yet spirit, cold, yet fiery, poison, and yet a healing drug, a symbol uniting all the opposites.
A symbol uniting all the opposites. Carl Gustav Jung. And here's an Egyptian image of the Ouroboros, 21st dynasty. I don't exactly know when in time that is, but it's a long time ago. In fact, as part of my research for this, I went to the Metropolitan Museum in New York, and I spent time in it has quite an amazing Egyptian collection, just photographing images of the snake and the Ouroboros on the old sarcophagi. Did I say that right? Sarcophagi. And the old tombs, and they're all over the place in the Met Museum. So here's one. The 18th century. And the snake and the dragon, the serpent, are one and the same as an image, especially medieval times and pre-medieval times. And these are the crowned dragons, the crowned serpents. And in the corners are the 4 elements that you saw in the alchemical chart earlier. This one is, I find particularly beautiful. And I don't know what the text is. It's in ancient Greek, and it's a serpent. And this time you see the tail is in the mouth. There's no space. Whoops. Okay. We go back a little bit. I lost my way. I'm on the roundabout, and I need to go counterclockwise. If you give me 1 second, I'll find it. Okay, here we are. Yeah. Okay. So here you see another cultural representative of the Ouroboros. I can't tell you what language that's in. My hunch it's Southeast Asian culture. It could be Cambodia or Laos. And you see again, this time, an image of the Philosopher's Stone, right? Although this time the triangle is within the circle. And there's a lot of variation in how the images are drawn. And this one is more of a Christian image. And a lot of times you see with the Ouroboros image and the alchemical image, as they become more later in the medieval times forward, a lot of them are combined with images of Christianity. All right, now I asked 2 people to join me to come up and do a little improvisation. Could you both please come up? And one of you is going to be, and you can do this right in front of the cauldrons. One of you is to be, one of you will take on the role of the Ouroboros. Who's going to be the Ouroboros? You'll be the Ouroboros. Okay, could Stacy, is that right? Yeah. Stacy, could you help him into role of Ouroboros? And when he's there, you're simply going to ask the question, why do you eat your tail? And you will respond in movement, in words and movement, whatever you want to do. Just very brief, a minute or 2. Okay, please.
Why do you eat your own tail?
Nice deep breath. Let the rolls go. Thank you very much. So here we go, another image, and this time there's the transitional space between the mouth and the tail, and we have a sun in the center. Can I have another voice, somebody? Would somebody like to read? A hand? Please. And loud, please.
The right way to wholeness is made up, unfortunately, of fateful detours and wrong turnings. It is not straight, but snake-like.
Thank you. Okay. We saw that, didn't we?
No.
Oh, we did not. Okay. This is a 16th century drawing. I'm going to move a little quicker. Another voice? A hand, please? Please, loud.
A path that unites the opposites in the manner of the guiding
Caduceus. And here we have Mercury, and a very, very old manuscript page of the caduceus. Mercury is holding the caduceus. Another voice? Please? Did we? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay, we're going to move a little quicker. Another voice, please? Please, in the back, loud, nice and loud.
A path whose labyrinth twists and turns are not lacking in terrors.
Beautiful. And here are some of the terrors. I'm going to move a little quicker because we're about to run out of time. The terrors. So at some point in 2014, I stopped writing. You know, I've written a lot in my professional life, and I needed to stop writing. I had become tired of words, and so I began to make circles. I didn't know why. And when I say make them, I created them. I drew them on pictures. I did them at photographs and Photoshops, and just began to make a lot of circles. I saw circles everywhere, in the street, in my wallet, e pluribus unum, in the sky. That's a created image, that's not a real one. On top of buildings, in my kitchen, in the elevator, in museums and houses of worship. One day I shared my images with a friend who asked, "Why are you making these circles?" I answered, "I don't know." She replied, "I think you're trying to find a center, the wholeness in your life. That is why Jung made mandalas." And I'm going to skip through this quickly. But the idea is that the mandala is a central point within the psyche, to which everything is related, by which everything is arranged, and which is itself a source of energy. A center! A center! Ah! A center. Okay, here we go. See if you can recognize these images. Self. You know what that is? Hal. 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's a famous New York. I'm not going to go into this. This is I'm going to skip over this poem from Yeats, but Yeats says, most importantly, things fall apart the center cannot hold. Everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned, the best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. So, for Jung, at the center of the personality was a self. Remember, the one is all, or two is all, or three, or four. And this brings us, as we near the close of this talk, to the notion of quaternity, which was the ultimate configuration for Jung. The circle has 4 points. Wholeness is quaternity. Jung said, all things do not live in 3, but in the 4 they merry be. Here they are. Intuition, sensation, feeling, and thinking. Ancient mathematicians believed that to square the circle, that is to conceive of a formula to reconcile the area of the circle and the square, the attempt was futile. It was impossible. And this is my version of trying to square the circle. And as you know, that Leonardo da Vinci created the Vitruvian Man. Whoops. That's a very famous image of the man within the square, within the circle, with writing from Vitruvius, who was a Roman architect who believed that the dimensions of buildings was equivalent to the dimensions in the body. And I discovered that the sketch was a self-portrait, so I placed myself in the circle and the square, and I found my own text. It brought me back to writing. I'm not even going to tell you about this now. You can ask me later. And I wondered, as Vitruvian Man, who am I? What am I reaching for? Am I reaching backward or forward? What is stopping me from getting there, and who can guide me? And this brings me to the alchemy of dramatherapy. 4 figures: hero, destination, guide, obstacle, and guide. The hero asks, who am I? I am Vitruvian Man, woman on a journey. The hero asks, what do I want? I want to square the circle, to find a home, to be whole and open-hearted. The hero asks, what is stopping me from getting there? My obstacles include the limitations of my limbs, my nakedness, the limitations of my creativity and wisdom, my fear of failure, and above all, my awareness of time passing and the profound challenge of living every moment in the present. There we go. The hero asks, who can help me? My guides, the artist Leonardo, the mystic psychotherapist philosopher Jung, and the Ouroboros, the snake circle that holds all contradictions without requiring resolution, simply integration. And there he is, or she. In the happy end of the story, the hero returns home. The first man and woman leave the garden. The circle is squared. The cold heart and rigid mind are warm and flexible and integrated. The earth is temperate. God is in his heaven, and all is right with the world. At the same time, the shadow and the snake, the despot, the bigot, and the warmonger, holding their darker purposes, are acknowledged and given their place at the table. There is a reversal of selves. The one self is not all. The all is one and is all. So I discovered in meeting a Sufi master that a circle is never complete from a Sufi point of view, and I drew this, and it changed my life forever. My friend asked me when I returned home, again, why do I make circles? Or I asked, why do I make circles? And she said, you make circles because you're trying to hold the broken pieces of your life together. Whoops, going too fast. I'm sorry, going a little too fast. Hang on a second. There's one more thing I have to have you do before you go. And let me find it. Okay. Can I ask everybody to stand, please? Suspend your disbelief and please stand. I'm going to ask you all to close your eyes and to reach out. reach out in front of you and reach, with your eyes closed, reach out for a circle and hold it gently and bring it into your body. Find the circle, bring it into your body. Bring it in, bring it in, bring it in, and hold it there. And now, reach out again for a snake. And hold it gently and bring it to your body. And once more, reach out for a self. Hold it gently and bring it to your body. And now please open your eyes. Let it go. Let your arms go. Let it all go. Let it go. And I want you to make a circle in the room. And leaving a space in the circle, just with everybody. Find a way to make a circle, but not a closed circle, an open circle. Just find a place for yourself very quickly. And look around the room and see the others as parts of the whole, and be aware of the opening up top. And see yourself, be aware of yourself standing and looking, and see for a moment that which is unseen. Thank you all very, very much. Finito. Sorry for going over. I'm sorry. Too many stories. You're welcome. Okay.
I'm just going to say a very, very brief thank you to Robert Landy. Thank you for that amazing keynote, which we are so honoured and grateful for. Thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure. Thank you, Alison. Okay, I'm sorry at the time. At the end.